Yes. Jamerson, there's two people in black suits that are waiting for you over there. So guys, I'm going to be solo casting the rest of the day. Let us begin. Jamerson is going for re-education.
Now Grizzlies, nothing to relearn here. They're going to go for that Sombra, it looks like, on the defense. Spirit this time really flexing into his hero pool. He'll be going for that Genji, a very proactive defense it looks like coming out from the Grizzlies.
And the Grizzlies, again, going to be sticking with that Sombra setup. It will be leaving Spirit to kind of freelance here to a degree where you think about how this is going to work out. He's probably going to be getting the orb more often than not from Blam. And then DPS-wise, it's all on Spirit. Meanwhile, the tanks are going to be holding back in positions that Tahoon can heal them up in repeatedly. Meanwhile, you take a look at the offense. Looks like Reach might be coming out this Widow. We'll see in a second. Last-minute changes, perhaps, but no, they're going to open up the Widowmaker, which means that they're going to be going hard dive here, Jamerson, but looking for that early pick-off opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the Widowmaker here used on offense before, and it's great because of the run-back distance. The defense can be punished. Reach, very patient so far, very wary of any flankers.
A Tracer could be around any corner saying hiya, even when it's not being played. You never know. Decod, though, can get picked off immediately. Last night's leftovers not waiting to give Reach time to set up as much here, and yet it doesn't matter. Perhaps the Grizzlies over-diving a bit. They lose 2, and now Reach has plenty of room on the Widowmaker. In fact, he can move up here in a second. He probably will. The rest of his team is certainly moving in. He has a beat on where Spirit is at, and now the leftovers just able to start moving their way in, still working at an edge, but now they decide to dive, and it's successful. Dahoon's out of the fight as Decod gets the cleave he was looking for.
Yeah, the thing about trying to run the Ana on the defense here is just that while the sightlines can be long, there are lots of corners that your tanks might accidentally LOS out of. And so Pag wasn't able to get the healings, and once you do lose that tank line, you're going to lose that point.
And what pressure does it put on you, Jamerson, when you have the main DPS being just the Genji, where I feel like Spirit would have had to have done enormous amounts to actually make that work?
He does have the Blade, which is going to be their saving grace coming into this next fight. Kevster will only be able to answer with, of course, that Pulse Bomb. Dummy getting close to that Transcendence as they approach for point A.
And here's the leftovers thing. They don't want to dive in immediately here. You need to buy some time. You have 2 great weapons. You won the first fight easily. Buy some time. Dummy almost 100%. Spirit the Blade. Dummy doesn't have Transcendence yet, but he gets it just in time. It's going to deny the rest of the Blade. The leftovers able to get a good counter, and it's the worst case for the Grizzlies. It is bad news bears right now as the leftovers are starting to move their way in. They're still having the barrier in reserve. The fight could not have gone more perfectly for them. 2
ticks already secured by LNL. They still have 6 minutes on the clock. Graceful coming out now. Sound barrier used by LNL as they are trying to commit onto this point. We do have, of course, a Transcendence now out for Grizzlies as they're trying their best to stall this out.
It's still a losing fight for them. They do have more people out from respawns. The EMP sets the stage. They get DMAC and a Tracer kill, but LNL still on the point. However, attrition is going to be a really big deal from here. Unless Reach is able to just cleave down 2 or 3 with his Tac Visor, it's not going to be enough. And oh, Grizzlies don't get back on the point. The Tac Visor is enough, and last night's leftovers setting an enormously quick time.
There were some great plays, individual plays coming out from everyone there on LNL on that attack. When we saw that Blade coming out from Reach to try and get onto the Zenyatta along with that Lucio, well, you have to remember, you're diving into a Lucio. He boops you back. You've already used your cooldown. You're not going to be able to catch them there. And so we saw that ultimate just fizzle. Now, last night's leftovers. Great time bank to work with.
They are certainly in the driver's seat here, where even if their defense is terrible, they're very much in the game. Like, Grizzlies could walk into point A, immediately walk into point B, and the game would still be very winnable for LNL. So to say they're working with an advantage right now would be almost an understatement. Now, again, one thing I'm going to point out to here is that the Grizzlies, even though they could still swap, or looking to their offense, again, sticking with the Sombra no matter what. That has been their team decision, and at this point, I don't think it's really going to change.
Yeah, it's been 100% pick rate so far coming out from the Grizzlies. Every point, every map. Now, last night's leftovers on their defense. They are going to be going with that Orisa. We saw tinges of it during the play on Nepal now. Reach on the Junkrat. This is just a composition we've seen so many times here on point A defense.
And what we're going to see here in particular, given that they're running this defense that includes both Junkrat and Roadhog, is that the ideal defense here for LNL is going to be a case where you obviously get Riptire going back and forth to disrupt ult economy, but also how often can Fried Wiener get early pickoffs to just continually delay the Grizzlies? Certainly on the first fight here, I feel like all eyes are on Fried Wiener and how he's going to be able to land hooks and disrupt the Grizzlies. Meanwhile, for the Grizzlies, they just want to full dive of what they have here, Sombra included.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, you do have, of course, like the going fishing composition with that Theresa hog. You just throw out the halt and wait for the right click and then just throw in your hook. You're almost guaranteed a kill at that point.
Well, take a look here. Defensive Widow also in play for LNL, so we want to talk about things that are pick-oriented. And by the way, can't stealth now. Sombra going to trigger that Widow mine, was in sight, was able to get away. Meanwhile, Kevster just holding back here, and it's actually giving the Grizzlies trouble. But meanwhile, we do have someone on the point. You don't want to give up a tick for free. Have they even noticed it yet? Yes, they have. But this distraction is going to pull people back, Jamerson.
Possibly, but he didn't commit enough onto it. Last night's leftovers only just sending one person back to try and deal with that Sombra, and dealt with effectively there. Kevster, with this Widowmaker, has been landing these shots.
The interesting thing about this defense from LNL is that it's multiple barriers before you can feel comfortable moving in. You can't get sniped by the Widow. You don't want to get hit by the Junkrat spam and or a trap, and you certainly don't want to get hooked. They have multiple threats for early pickoffs, and again, though, you have this distraction in the back where Zapri's just going, please pay attention to me, notice me, senpai. And the Roadhog has in fact noticed him, so he's going to translocate out.
He's noticed him, but he has given over a lot of ultimate charge to that Sombra. Zapri at 80%. Doesn't matter though, because no one's dealing with Kevster until Zapri enters the fray, taking him out. It's still a 2v1 exchange though, in favor of the defense.
Defense is looking very good right now. The Grizzlies are being very apprehensive about moving in here. They're waiting for pickoffs that aren't happening. But now Zapri, EMP up, going to be looking for his way in. Uses a stealth, gets de-stealthed, and now he has to wait even longer. And again, time just keeps ticking away here, Jamerson, for an offense that has gone in. But here he goes, in over the top. EMP striking, hitting 3. This is the best chance the Grizzlies have had all round long, and it's going to pay off.
Yeah, we even had the Genji getting in with those dash resets. That's so much damage. So after 2 minutes, they will break the defense, but we're not going to see the same snowball, quite possibly, that we had with the last night's leftovers when on their attack. There are going to be some counter ultimates for the defense to use.
Well, in particular, you want to buy some space after the other team takes point A. Let me let you know what you go for here. You go for the Riptire, where the Grizzlies, they think they have momentum, so they're going immediately up here to the right. You look to the back, though. Reach has the Riptire. They pick up something early on, but here comes the Tire. Tire moving in to the back, looks for the support pickoff, and gets it. But Spirit, he's going to invest the blade. It's still winnable for the Grizzlies despite the rough opening.
Yeah, Dummy was still just responding, so there was no chance they can respond with, of course, that Transcendence. And so now Spirit is able to clean them up. Soldier 76 with his Biotic Field trying his best, but he's booped off the point. And now Spirit with another kill onto Reach. He's going back once again onto the back line, but it's Ajax with that Valkyrie to keep his team topped off.
Well, the respawns are coming back in here too, where unfortunately for the Grizzlies, it just was not that decisive for them, where that's what you need to take second point Horizon or second point of any assault map, decisiveness, where you fully clean out the other team. Grizzlies going to be resetting here, and the EMP is back up, so let's see if Zapri can set up his team once more.
And of course, again, crucially, his target is going to be Dummy. He's got that Transcendence. We'll see if he can pop it in time. There we go. He's going to get out of Cloak, and he does not get it off.
It just keeps happening, and it's nothing Dummy can do. Like, it's the nature of the setup. Zenyatta is just there to get crushed by Sombra, but the fall-through wasn't immediately there. Last night's leftovers still with a good presence on the point. The self-destruct's gonna find plan, and as Spirit is darting in and around, the tanks are just buying plenty of time. They're backed up by the Transcendence, and it's not gonna matter. So, to a degree, Dummy's probably a little bit upset going, wow, you picked me off, but then it's also, you only used this to pick me off, it didn't really matter.
Yeah, you need to snowball into these fights. If it comes down to a war of attrition, it's going to favor the defense. Last night's leftovers able to get their respawns in. Zapri still have to work to get that ultimate up once again. Now, he's going to combine. He's going to join forces with Zapri, try to get into the back line, try to get onto this Ana.
Spirit again looking for Dummy in the back, but because of how far back the supports are playing, it's making the Grizzlies overextend to a point where the move in, but there's a stick! Got Ajax, now it's time to move. The Grizzlies, 6-on-5 edge. Reach, buying time here at the attack visor, but it doesn't really matter. The Transcendence pushes him back in a sense. He couldn't keep that positioning. Now the Grizzlies with an opportunity, but it wasn't for long. Peg and Blam gonna fall to the respawns coming back in, and so far only one tick has gone the Grizzlies' way, but they're still fighting this fight.
They're still fighting it as Zapper uses that EMP. Didn't really connect with anyone. 3 minutes now for the Grizzlies. The respawners are coming in. Zapper just hacking them as soon as they land onto the point. He's gonna have another one shortly. This D.Va, it might not be long for the world.
Well, we'll have to see it certainly back and forth, where as long as it goes back and forth, it still favors the defense. Last night's leftovers have given up 2 ticks. They have given up their margin for error, but they have been trading out effectively. Spirit, take a snooze, buddy. He's out of the fight, even as he had the barrier, and it was rough for the leftovers, but they are going to hold here. And so far, let's not forget, they have a huge edge at time bank. They're still doing fine.
Yeah, 2 minutes and 30 seconds left for the Grizzlies. While they have secured 2 ticks, it has been a rough go of it so far. Each incursion onto the point not as successful as they want it to be now. Spirit swapping off onto the Widowmaker.
Spirit to the Widowmaker, and that's what you look for here if you want early pickoffs. They do have control as an option here with the 2 tank ultimates up, and that's what they're doing right now. They're going through the ground, taking their time. Grizzly's gonna dive in, drops a self-destruct, tries to get out safely, under assault. Will he get back into the mech? He does. But while this is going on, they've lost Pog. He wasn't able to Primal Rage in time. Yet it doesn't matter. Spirit picks off Dummy, and the Grizzlies are still on the hunt right now, Jamerson.
Yeah, because they already secured 2 ticks. Last night's leftovers are committing all of their bodies onto the point. No one actually applying any pressure to Spirit so far, so he's getting free damage off right now. Last night's leftovers, they're striking back. They're able to force them away.
Respawn's coming back in at the right time. 1:35 left right now, so the Grizzlies' hunting season is about to be over here, Jamerson. They have about 2 more attempts left, maybe just 1 if they take their time here. So this has to be a good one, and certainly the key is going to be the EMP.
The EMP, Zapper has to translocate back now. 96%, he will have it shortly. Just a few more clips now. Spirit making his way forward with that Widowmaker is firing straight into a D.Va as the Winston dive comes out. There's the Primal Rage trying to create space for his team.
Early EMP, got Dummy in the fight. I don't know if it really tagged too many other people. Zapper's gonna find 2 anyways. The pressure on the decon, a clean 2-man advantage for the Grizzlies. This is what they needed in this fight. They're backing it up. And yes, Spirit might have gone down, but they still have 5. They're still moving on to the point. They're so close to getting that final tick, and it is do or die right now for the leftovers. They invested the nano boosted tank, still not really able to clear things out. The Grizzlies still in a very good position, still very healthy, graceful. They're zoning out the other D.Va and removing her. They are 2% away, and yet the next wave of leftovers are coming in.
Transcendence has dissipated though, and so now the Grizzlies with the C9. Last night's leftovers able to stay on to the point. They will be able to secure it, and not in overtime, so they do have that time bank to work with.
You know, Jamerson, sometimes I'm sad that our game is a precise and calculated game where I'd like to imagine if this were the traditional sporting realm, Reach would be arguing with the referee right now, claiming that he was in. We'd be going to review. It would be great.
10 minutes later, no, you weren't. No, you weren't.
Unfortunately, we don't get that. Everything is precisely calculated, and we could go, no, you actually weren't on the point. And yet, okay, maybe they could have held for longer. Doesn't really matter though, they still have a gigantic advantage, and the Grizzlies only get a minute here to go in on point A. This is very holdable, especially if LNL is able to delay the way they did last time.
Yeah, it took 2 minutes for the Grizzlies to actually capture point A here. Last night's leftovers were able to get it on their first attempt. Now they're going to stick with it. Maybe a change coming out from the offense from the Grizzlies as Blam is hovering over that Moira.
Well, the Moira, and this would just kind of indicate where they would want to be very tank heavy going to the point, but if you're going to run the sort of slam into the point composition with Moira, I don't think you should be running the Sombra here, especially, and that's why I swapped. Okay, that makes all the sense in the world, because if Sombra takes longer to get EMP, you're not going to get the EMP in the 1 minute. This makes more sense if they're swapping the Moira. I appreciate the swap the Grizzlies are going for here.
Yeah, build up that coalescence really quickly. Try and use that AoE heal and damage now. Grizzlies, 50 seconds. They need to get onto the point, but they still have to deal with Kevster on that Widowmaker dive coming out.
They're trying to get everyone here healthy, but it's not going to be enough. The dive takes down Spirit of all people. The goal was just get on the point and use Moira's spray to keep everyone up. Not going to be the case. They're down 1. Now they need to stall Jamerson. They need to get to the side and wait for the reemergence of Spirit. Spirit actually going to the Sombra. All right.
Okay.
They lost Blam, though. That's really bad.
Yeah, they've lost Blam, and now there's almost no chance for him to build up that coalescence. He's got to run all the way back from spawn. Dummy might be caught out here, but with the concussion mines, they were able to kite away from him. Now the tank line might be caught out on the opposite end.
The problem here, when you're running a Moira comp, the goal is to bully the other team, not get bullied by getting dove on by the defense. The Grizzlies are very out of sorts right now in how they want to approach this. Are not getting really good benefit out of the Moira here so far. The leftovers able to use their tank line to hold firm, but Kevster gets caught out. Now it's a little bit more even. 4-4 here as it goes to point. Zapper gonna open up Dummy. Suddenly there is an opportunity here for the Grizzlies that move around. It's up to Zapper, bouncing in and around. Blam about to get the Coalescence up mid-fight, and they're gonna need it as Reach is back in as well. 99%. Here comes the Coalescence, and oh, down goes Graceful.
Most crucially there in that last fight, Ajax was able to get that Valkyrie off. He had, of course, that passive healing to keep him alive while he goes for that resurrection and keep his team topped off. Now, if the Moira could have just survived a little bit longer, had that coalescence going into that fight, but no, he got picked off way too early.
Again, the issue is that Grizzlies didn't want to fight until they got onto the point. That's why you run Moira. It's sort of out-bullying the other team. The problem is I think they need to be perhaps a little bit more tanky if you're going to do that. Do the stuff that we saw in the Overwatch Beat Invitational where you run 4 tanks and you bully out a first point of Anubis or something. I like the concept they had there. I like the fact that they understood that running the Sombra with it probably wouldn't have been great. But it's also one of those swap-ups I don't know if they're prepared to do, where it's very obviously they've kind of game planned around these very specific Sombra comps, and they're like, 1 minute left, we try this different thing. It's not a surprise that they weren't able to play it as effectively as you might expect.
Indeed, but they're going to go back to it anyhow. Possibly no. Zapre swapping off. He's going to go for that Junkrat, who is very potent here. You do have to cross a lot of corners, a lot of choke points, just to try and get onto point A. And so we'll see if he can control that space, especially with that Diva and Orisa tank line composition.
All right, the Grizzlies, of course, you take a look at the victory condition, coming in from LNL. 6 minutes and 5 seconds to get what is 1 tick. That is an enormous defensive task from the Grizzlies. It would be one of the best defenses in Overwatch history. Were they able to pull it off? For Jamerson, let's go 1 step at a time. See what happens on this first fight.
Yeah, it's going to be a Herculean effort, a Herculean task for the Grizzlies to try and hold on to this right now. Reach, once again, on that Widowmaker, still wary. Someone in the back line, but they don't quite have that. It's going to be the Widow v Widow battle. Ooh, almost got that mercy.
He had the chance. He didn't pull the trigger. He froze. But look, he has plenty of time. He doesn't. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but he could have ended that right here with a pick on one of the most important support heroes in the game. Reach, though, casually move around to the side.
Yeah, like you had said, he has all the time in the world. 5 minutes and 23 seconds. Fight 1 kill, and there it is onto Spirit. We'll see if Dahoon is in position to get the resurrection off. Well, oh no, as Dahoon was busy.
And now Dahoon is killing Dahoon. It's over. He gets Dahoon in the beginning. There's no more supports left for the defense here. And LNL just gonna casually saunter their way onto the point. They got the pickoffs they needed, and that is gonna put them up in the series 2-1 as they take Horizon Lunar Colony pretty darn decisively.
And that's just the gamble of running the defensive Widowmaker there. You get picked off, you're not coming back. They try to go for that res. Blam is the next to fall right afterwards. Reach just hitting those crucial shots, coming up big for his team.
And they did have a small chance where if Dahoon maybe could have stayed alive, but then, just as I'm saying up and going, okay, now Dahoon really has to stay alive. He's already, he's gone. It's gone.
Yeah, watching that, and it's like, you know, it's like an underdog thing. Like I wanted the Grizzlies to come back so bad, and then just watching Reach come out and just being like, no, no, and also no. You're just like, ooh, rough.
No, that was definitely some sharpshooting coming out from him. It was. We also got to see his Genji earlier on too during this map, and honestly, I'm surprised just how deep these heroes, like these players, are able to reach into the hero pool, going for both projectile and DPS. Generally, you see people specialize in these roles.
You do, but again, we are also in a new meta. We're also in a case of dealing with new teams, so you're going to see more flexing, and sometimes it's going to be good, sometimes it's going to be not so good, right?
What about this? What about like Sombra being the hill the Grizzlies want to die on?
Well, they did manage to die. I just don't know if it was the hill. They got to the right hill. It's more like, okay, it's going to be this one.
Yeah, I mean, they got stopped at Hill A right there. It was unfortunate because...
I mean, in round 2, they pulled a win. They got it, you know, and it looked like that was one that LNL was like a guaranteed shot for.
Well, LNL seemed to be prepared for it, right? They knew what they were running when they were running the Widowmaker with the Orisa on the high ground. They knew that either a Tracer, a Genji, or possibly the Sombra is going to get onto point A. They didn't overcommit resources to try and deal with it. It was just the Roadhog that went back there, proved enough threat that Zapri wasn't able to stay in the back line, and he had to back away. During that time, that allowed Reach on the Widowmaker, on the defense, to find the pick to shut down the offense.
Well, the interesting thing, too, about that offense there is that I think the goal was, in theory, was, okay, Zapri's going to move in. He's going to be a distraction. You're going to pull back 2 people, and then suddenly you're going to come in through the front. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
The problem was that you didn't pull back 2 people. It was just Roadhog going, I'm slightly annoyed that you're trying to hack my point. I have installed Norton antivirus. Clearly the apps, you know, I'm not gonna get big too. Who knows who gets sponsored, but no, not very effective at least.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So we do, of course, we have our highlight of the game, which is going to be...
Yeah, this is the clincher.
Yeah.
This is just the clincher right there. And this is what I'm talking about.
Ouch.
It's such a
for
gamble
them.
running that defensive Widowmaker, and we've talked about it plenty of times before. That defensive Widowmaker, yeah, sure, you know, if you get the kill, the offense, they get to just reset. If you die on the opposite end, well, you're not going to be able to run back. They try to resurrect him, but of course that resurrect means that, well, the opposite support isn't able to stay alive.
Well, don't forget, too, in that entire situation where once you get the early pickoff, there's still a window of opportunity, right? Mercy doesn't get the, hello, I've just lightly touched you, come back to life. She actually has to commit to raising the dead.
Yeah.
It's a full-on ritual now, which means that there's an opportunity for the other team to dive in. And in particular, there wasn't really a chance to protect Blam there. Blam got caught off guard, ends up getting sniped as well. And then, okay, you've brought your Widow back up, but now it's a situation where, of course, you're going to dive in. Dahoon gets punished because it's no surprise where he's at. He just finished raising the dead, and it just escalated very rapidly.
Well, we have Grizzlies pick up for the 4th map, which they could tie it up. It could bring it to 2-2 and push us into overtime. They are picking Dorado, and hopefully, I mean, given kind of their historic team comps up until this point, what do you see this game going as?
Thematically, Sombra fits in this map, so I think Zapri's going to run it.
Thematically, Sombra is also the square peg in the proverbial round hole right now for the Grizzlies. I don't think they care if it fits or not. It's just like, you know what fits? A hammer through anything. Eventually, with determination, we will make it work no matter what.
Absolutely, but you know, you are right. I mean, this is Sombra's home map. So it would be hilarious, actually, if they just didn't choose Sombra.
But I don't know. There are a lot of health packs that you can use. There are a lot of avenues of approach that you can take, right? You can go the underpass route, go on the left side, or you can even hop on over with the translocator on the right side wall. There are lots of ways to get into the back line. This is a very sneaky map for Sombra. It can be played on the first point.
One thing that's worth noting, though, is that historically when you saw Sombra defenses on Dorado, it was like previous patches where it was more health pack oriented, and you would delay a team with poke at the beginning and then make it so anytime they were to commit heavily to the courtyard, then they face the EMP. You don't get EMP as often here. You do get more pickoffs and better pressure from the Sombra, but it's still a little bit different than normal because Dorado, as an escort map, has one of the most defensible first points around, right up there with Route 66.
Do you think possibly we might see that composition they ran at the beginning of Nepal, where they go for the Farah Sombra again?
I don't see why not. I mean, the Farah Sombra also does have hidden synergies there, where if you're able to hack the D.Va, suddenly you just give more options.
Well, Farah Sombra, are we going to see it? Let's check it out. Throw to game.
All right, there it is, the shores here on Dorado, a brilliant community run by the very uncorrupt Lumerico Corporation. And there's absolutely no crime in the area whatsoever, certainly not against robots.
Definitely not against
Also,
robots.
if you excuse me, my check is about to clear for me.
But I feel like Zapri might commit a few crimes up against Dummy, he's had in his sights time and again, 3 maps in a row now. He's going to be running that defensive Sombra.
I just like to imagine Dummy's getting more and more progressively sarcastic on voice comms going, yeah, guys, EMP on that.
I mean, just
progressively getting more disillusioned with it, but it's fine if he dies in a case where no one else is getting hit by the EMP.
Zapri already 21% towards his EMP now. Reach, making sure he can't get that hack off, just peppering away, but now the shurikens aren't enough to keep him back.
Really wanted to finish off the kill on Genji, not quite able to get it there. The Grizzlies, again, trying to poke and buy time, but LNL has actually been able to get a lot of progress here early on. The Grizzlies are committing to defending this further back into the courtyard. Attack comes up here, but the Grizzlies almost feel pressured out here. The LNL, they're just pushing the payload all the while. At some point, you've got to commit.
Yeah, it is contested at this choke point right now. Kevster on the Widowmaker gets taken out. Blam! Comes in with the right click.
And that's the moment where the Grizzlies can go, oh, right, we can push back into you. LNL going to be backing up just a bit here. Reach, still looking to charge Dragon Blade all the while, but they're not going to be committing until they get all 6 back in. And they team back Fried Winner, so it's more delay coming in. They have an EMP built up, and the Grizzlies now, they've kind of built their den.
And this is the mobility that I was talking about with that Sombra. She can scout so much with that translocator. 20-second uptime for it. That is nuts.
Here comes Zapri off the flank. Doesn't just want to go for the Winston, goes, not this just yet. And no, he's looking for Dummy. Does he have to use the EMP? Again, finding his favorite target, translocates back. And that's big because you get all the delay as if you had to use the EMP without using it.
Yeah, and that's the spread buff coming to fruition for that Sombra. She was a medium distance away and just got all the headshots onto him, took him out so quickly with that Grizzlies. Making up a lot of ultimates here. Dahoon still holding on to that nano boost along with the pulse bomb and that EMP. Last night's leftovers just struggling Reach. It's 2 minutes into this, doesn't even have a Dragon Blade yet.
No, NL is very behind on ult economy here, and there's the EMP into the back line, and Dummy actually, no, he's gonna fall, but not immediately. Still, the Grizzlies end up with 3. They lose 2 in return, so it's more of a back and forth fight. Not exactly what they would have liked here. LNL, they will have opportunities coming in here as respawns come in. They're finally getting their ultimates out.
They're finally gonna have that blade. The barrier will be up shortly along with that Transcendence. The tanks still struggling. They haven't been able to push this payload past, but there it is. Dummy starts it off, takes out Dahoon.
Dummy, a little bit of revenge, a little bit of frustration coming out there. They get 2 for free, and Reach goes, I'm pulling out the blade anyways. Sees 2 clumped up in the back, ends up with 1, and yeah, he's, okay, whatever. It's fine, it's enough. I don't even really think he needed to use the blade there, but I think he had committed before those 2 picks even came out. But it's still very good for LNL. They're gonna get this first point, and now, plenty of room to work with here, and they'll still have the Transcendence barrier as well.
Yeah, so, last night's leftovers should be able to deflect a lot of these attacks coming out from Grizzlies here. They don't have much to really work with. That self-destruct along with the Transcendence. They don't have the oomph behind it, but Spirit has now swapped off onto the Widowmaker, which we have seen come to be used prevalently here on Dorado.
Well, second stage Dorado, it's very good for Widowmaker. You have great sightlines, great escape opportunities, and look at that for Winston. Winston has to use most of his leap just to get on the same verticality level. Going to be gunned down mid-air, and yet it's Reach in the back. He's already picked off 2. Both supports are done. This is huge for LNL right now because the Grizzlies can't stand and fight here. You must back out, period.
Yeah, the job of the tank is to soak up damage and also just pull aggro there, and you know what? That's what he did, allowing Reach to get into the back line. Like you had mentioned, get both supports, and so now the payload's going to continue to press forward.
Reach going to have a Dragon Blade up very soon in this next fight. Barrier Blade, an option here. The key is that he wants to force out the Transcendence from Blade first. No, well, nope, he's going to get a bolt to the head. That's going to be enough for the Grizzlies here, and LNL, if they have any sense, they're going to back out. Just accept the L for now. You're still setting a good time.
4 ultimates online for the defense. The Grizzlies able to regain their composure here now off the back of Spirit. Finding some clutch shots now. He's got the infra sight up, and so we're seeing Kevster just backing away, waiting out the duration.
LNL, they have time to work with here. They're going to have a lot of power in this next fight, but so will the Grizzlies. So if both teams all use their ultimates here, it's going to be a huge change in the tempo of the fight. But now, we see LNL. Reach off to the side, blade up. The fight about to begin right now, just both sides waiting for when to dive in. Reach going to be using the blade immediately, gets the barrier, and actually hasn't bladed here just yet. Gonna get EMP'd, now he can't bring it out at all. The EMP going to cancel the effect of the barrier entirely, and yet no one has died here. It's been a very passive fight between both sides early on, and suddenly Reach goes, all right, now I can bring out the blade. Dives to the back, removes the Widowmaker threat, and an interesting dance there, James.
Indeed, but you have to imagine at that point, Kevster just making the call. I've got the Zenyatta Reach going on in the payload. Take a look, it got pushed that entire time. The Grizzlies were just trying to kite away from the last night's leftovers from that sound barrier there, but now they are here to recontest. Blam starts it off, Decod down.
Decod falls down, the Grizzlies weren't fully out of the fight. In fact, now we have Spirit back in, able to find Dummy, and the Grizzlies gonna reestablish here, and it's probably one of the more interesting back and forth exchanges I've seen in Overwatch, and even though you have some pickoffs towards the end, it's not enough. LNL must fully reset, and they are drained, Jamerson. A huge break for the Grizzlies.
Yeah, it's that respawn distance coming up for the Grizzlies there. You were just a short hop skipping away from being able to recontest that payload. Well, take a look. This is such a long run back for the offense.
Cardio.
Cardio indeed. You've even got like your music playing in the background. Lucio just speed boosting everyone in. They're going to take the right-hand approach here. Try to avoid the sidelines of Spirit. Spirit just going to go ahead and readjust himself, as he does know that everyone is on his left.
Recon site going to be coming up here for Spirit. In the back right now, mainly worried about the Genji, but has to balance out, right? You don't want to focus on the Genji, but maybe you should have in this case. Gonna get pushed all the way out. Self-destruct over the top for LNL, does not connect. Meanwhile, the story. Reach, about to get Dragon Blade up, pulls it out immediately. Spirit out of the fight as Kevster blows himself up, and now it's Reach, starting out the blade, not able to get much at all. LNL, though, they can still drop the beat, and they better well should, because this is their last opportunity. Beat is dropped. Transcendence on deck. Dummy would love to save this right now. They just took down 2, and nope, he's gonna invest. You don't want to risk it in this situation. We're still in overtime, and the defense is still coming back out here, Jamerson.
Yeah, the defense, they are trying to burn as much time off the clock, but they've already got it into overtime. They were just waiting for Pack to get back in. He's got that Primal Rage. Bats 2 away. Dummy's down. Here's the hack, but Zafri will fall now. But Fried Wiener's not able to do anything with this D.Va yet. His cooldowns are back up now. He's got the self-destruct if he wants to try and zone them off, but it doesn't matter. The micro missiles doing so much damage for him. And in last seconds, last night's leftovers will be able to secure second.
Well, they get to take a breath there after what was a very good beginning on point A. They got gummed up on point B. And now we'll see what momentum they can establish here. They only get really 2 attempts, and actually, even if they win the next fight, it's going to take most of their time just to get this all the way to the end.
Yeah, now we do have some swap outs, of course. Kevster now on forcing this TVT up against Spirit, who has swapped off onto this Tracer, almost has his pulse bomb now. The tank line's battling it out on the payload. They're not going to give them a free inch.
Going in, gets the stick, kaboom! Decon gonna be out of there really early on in the fight, and the Grizzlies buying time. That was 1 of 2 fights they need to win here, Jamerson. We'll see how this last one goes, but the leftovers down to their final dish.
Go Grizzlies, they've got the EMP on deck. It's going to be able to shut down, of course, the D.Va once again, and we'll see if Kevster gets caught in it along with Dummy. Those are the targets you really want to prioritize with this.
Zapri, EMP up, he can be the dagger in the heart right here. Moving to the back, drops EMP, was looking for Dummy. Dummy wanted no part of that, he knew it was coming. Dummy, gonna survive here, at least for now. 5 on 5, he gets healed back up. Barrier up in reserve for LNL. The self-destruct comes in, and now LNL getting good momentum here, Jamerson. They're not done yet.
They're not done yet, but the Grizzlies, they were stalling it out pretty early on here on this hold. So as we get into overtime, we're gonna see the Grizzlies be able to recontest with a full 6-man once again.
Full 6-man once again. We are in overtime. Decod, Primal Rage at the ready. This is where you want to get an early pickoff. Use the Rage, go in, stop people from getting back in. There's a sound barrier, LNL must go in. Dives on the Blam. Blam in trouble, Primal Rage out from Decod. Grizzlies responding to Transcendence to their own. Coming right back in. Puck out of the fight here for the defense as Reach into the back line with the blade, picks up 1, pressuring back and in. The Grizzlies getting thrown back to their cave as the leftovers now pushing in.
They're pushing in, but they're still stalling this out. But again, this is overtime respawn timers now, and they're just bleeding members left and right. We got back trying his best with this Winston, but he doesn't have the D.Va, so he's gonna melt the Hoon, getting booped back, and with that, they will be able to secure third.
It was a slog. It took every bit of time they had and even a little bit longer. But LNL able to finish out Dorado and now putting themselves in a position to end the series if they can just prevent the Grizzlies from getting to the very end of Dorado.
Now, what I really liked seeing out of LNL there, especially towards the end, was just how well they staggered their support ultimates. Time and again, Ajax and Dummy, they would have, of course, the barrier along with the Transcendence up. Dummy would hold on to it. He was very patient with it, actually, waiting until Reach was ready to go in with his blade to make sure that succeeded.
Well, credit where credit is due the Dummy here as well, is that don't forget one of the final EMPs there from Zapri, where as they were getting into the beginning part of Point C, Dummy was so far back from the rest of his team that Zapri didn't feel comfortable just diving in on Dummy. He used the EMP from a situation where he couldn't easily dive in on him, and Dummy was actually able to survive, and that was a big deal in deciding the course of the fight. So Dummy is figuring out some of the positioning that he needs to take here to not just be Sombra's whipping boy.
Yeah, Ajax is just doing such a good job of also kiting for him, booping people away, making sure that Dummy isn't dying every fight. But, you know, normally Sombra's on top of you, you're going to die. It was a great play coming out from both Ajax and Dummy. Dummy just playing a line of sight there. He knew that the EMP had come from just ahead of him, and he just went ahead and stood behind a wall to make sure he wasn't getting shot at.
Meanwhile, just to continue the narrative we have built about square pegs, round holes, Sombra, no matter what. Well, Grizzlies, they're looking at their offense now, Jamerson, and Sombra still very much on the menu.
Okay, and it looks like they are hovering over the Widowmaker. Spirits versus Reach. Once again, this is going to be round 2. Of course, continuing from Horizon Lunar Colony. We'll see who wins out in this battle.
Well, we might be in Dorado in North America, but sometimes who wins Overwatch is decided by who has the better smug French women. So we're going to be seeing here between Spirit and Reach early on, where an early pickoff could be very beneficial to either side.
Spirit, he is going to have the benefit of having the damage boost coming out, so a body shot onto Kevster can take him out. He's dropped low. Reach, though, gets the first kill, taking out Zapri.
Zapri down early on. Spirit going to be forced back just a bit here. The Grizzlies still getting plenty of payload progress as this goes on. And LNL, they're really just going to be focused. Oh, Spirit gets picked. Well, no, that's going to be LNL able to dive in and force the Grizzlies back. But it's very clear that the defense here is just a holding courtyard, and they don't even want to mess with holding outside.
Reach ended Horizon with some great Widow play. He wants to end Dorado with some amazing Widow play right now. Now, even though Spirits had the damage boost coming out from Dahoon, it's Reach actually keeping on par with him for that first ultimate.
Well, Spirit is back. He has both tanks covering for him. Damage boost in the back. This could not be a more protect the Widow comp if they wanted to, as this fight sets up right now. LNL using the cover here in the courtyard. Now it's Reach here on the other side, looking for Spirit, almost picked him, was very, very close, but he's gonna get pocketed right back up. He's back where he needs to be. Both sides still at full strength right now, and it's actually a really back and forth poking battle, but the Widowmakers trying to be the ones that burst open the dam. And Dummy, under pressure, he's gonna fall, he will. Zapri finds him in the back, and yet Reach there for the immediate equalizer.
Now we do have the Valkyrie out for the Grizzlies here. They are committing on to this fight right now. Graceful low, but the Valkyrie is able to keep him alive. But it's Decod that gets into the back, taking out Blam. Reach on the high ground. No one to contest him at all. It's gonna force back the forces of Grizzlies.
At what point do you swap the Widow here, where they're putting so much in protecting Spirit, and they're getting very little in return?
Oh,
well, yeah.
No! There we go. The instant answer.
I don't have a title of prophet, but hey, sometimes it works out. Spirit has said, I have had enough of this. We will be seeing a change up here. They're still going to be running Dahoon on the Mercy, though, so they're not going to be changing that up to, say, a Lucio or something like that. But it's rough times for the Grizzlies here. 1:48 left.
1:48 left, and you don't want to see that payload right there. The choke point now, Zapri is able to translocate himself into the backline, was spotted out, not able to get the hack off. He has to back away. It's Decod that received the hack.
Zapri here in the back, holding on to the EMP. Moving forward here for the Grizzlies. This is a great opportunity to drop it. Will he do it here just yet? No, not quite. Was waiting for the self-destruct, see if he would put it over the top. Still holding on to the EMP, and it's Spirit carving through the back. Ends up with 3, and the Grizzlies get to save the EMP for a little bit here, James.
Yeah, it's Spirit swapping off onto that Genji, just change the gears for the Grizzlies, you know. They were trying to play a more passive style, waiting on Spirit to get a pick off, but instead they just go for that dive. Dive works, guys.
Dive works. Playing the Widow on offense, not quite as working out for them here, but as a testament to how much Spirit did in that last fight, he's at 76% right now. He could have a blade coming up soon that LNL might not even be expecting.
Reach, though, expecting the Genji. He's already got that Widow's Kiss trained down that sight line. Right now he has to wait for the rest of his team here before they can try and recontest. We'll see where they want to take this fight. The high ground though, Grizzlies will be ready to contest it.
Recon site coming out here for LNL early on. And again, this is just recon. They don't necessarily want to dive in. It's actually going to make the Grizzlies play a little bit more passively here while it's active if they know what they're doing. Spirit though, about to be building up the blade, laying the damage into the tanks. To whom though fell early on because of that dive, and he's just gonna have to hold it. The leftovers hold the Grizzlies back once more.
That was weird because it wasn't even that potent of a dive coming out from LNL. Deacon just jumped down from the high ground and just stood there while actually he had two people in front of him, Dahoon did, and they weren't able to do anything at all to that Winston. Deacon just got some free damage off and he's got his Primal Rage.
Look, sometimes the best move you can do is just casually walk into the other team and holding down your left mouse button. That's the lesson that Deacon learned there. Hey, it did in fact work. However, this is where the Grizzlies will be looking to do some work. Blade up here for Spirit. He's looking for the early opportunity. Tanks for the defense gonna drop down onto the payload. The Grizzlies playing it slow. They haven't committed here just yet. Zapri drops the EMP, gets it off despite almost getting picked. Spirit to the backline of the Blade. Will be demecking D.Va here. Doesn't get quite as much as he would have liked early on, but it still could be enough. It is a one-player advantage for the Grizzlies, now two, and they're slowly pushing LNL back.
Yeah, I thought the Grizzlies were going to go for a Blade empowered by that Valkyrie Mercy. But now they are answering back to Hoon, able to bring Zapri back into this payload. Will charge forward, reach still on this Widowmaker. Thorn in the side of the of the Grizzlies.
Well, and the Grizzlies going into this next fight, they still have tools. And you're right, reach has been a problem. Now he's going to be going over off to the side, going to be in almost of a flanking position. LNL has to kind of clutch here on Fried Wiener. Fried Wiener's going to have the self-destruct up. Grizzlies are just moving forward outright here. And oh, Spirit takes down Kevster. A nice opening here for the Grizzlies.
Great swap off coming up from Spirit. As I say that though, Reach is again getting the better of this Widow v Widow. Finds a second kill. He does want to end it just like he ended Horizon Lunar Colony. They have to back away. Grizzlies now left with 1 minute.
Good cleanup coming out from Reach there, down to the final minute, as you have mentioned. And
was that in the same order of kills?
It might have been. It was pretty close, if nothing else. Grizzlies now going to be down to their final attack if they want to keep the series alive.
Final attack, Widow v Widow once again. Reach repositioning himself as he does notice that the Grizzlies are taking the high ground away from him. Here's
the key here for Reach. Kill Dahoon. Dahoon's going to be flying in the sky. Might not be a butterfly, but he will be twice as high. However, if you're able to get him with the Widowmaker early on, it's not really going to matter. So Dahoon is going to be limited mobility until Reach is out of the fight. Spirit, though, gets taken down early. You're not going to get any help there. 5 on 5. Dahoon is in Valkyrie right now. Reach still in the back looking for pickoffs. Meanwhile, it's on the payload where Grizzlies are making their money right now. The tank frontline dominates space. Reach finally out to Zapri, and the Grizzlies will be getting in 2.C.
Both teams struggling to take the second point. We'll do it in overtime now. 1 minute and 20 seconds left for the Grizzlies. And they have some great tools here, but LNL, they can stall this out themselves. They've got the Primal Rage along with the Transcendence on the opposite side. Blam has his Transcendence along with the Self-Destruct. We haven't seen that many Self-Destruct kills so far throughout this match.
Has not been a common occurrence. The Grizzlies, though, they are investing both Transcendence and Self-Destruct out, and the leftovers go, yeah, we don't really want to fight this here. It's a good disengage, though. Spirit ends up falling, and the Grizzlies right now, they're going to get the better of this fight. Or, sorry, they're going to get thrown off this fight.
It's been Kevster, time and again. He's been a real good force for the LNL. You know, when they're not relying upon Reach with that Widowmaker to clutch it out with these amazing shots, Kevster on this Tracer has been consistently dealing with the Grizzlies, and now it's coming down to the last fight. 30 seconds left to go. All they have to use is an EMP.
Grizzlies moving in. Well, Zapri has been the key here, moment to moment. We'll see if he can do it here once more. Spirit coming in on the flank as Zapri looks to set this up. Grizzlies moving their way in. Blam going to get taken down by Kevster early on. So now the EMP is going to be more to keep them even, let alone giving them an advantage in this fight. They're going to have to back out, and the leftovers close to taking this. Grizzlies, they can't back down. They have to bear down and move in.
Even if they win this fight, the Grizzlies are on the back foot here. EMP comes out. Zapri instantly has to translocate. Great focus fire coming up from LNL and Spirit that gets the better of Kevster here. So they've got the man advantage, but still, it's going to be a war of attrition. If they win this fight out, it doesn't look like it's going back and forth now. Decon gets the kill onto Graceful. The man advantage for the defense. Reach with a kill onto Blam. They might have just done it with that self-destruct kill onto Zapri. Last night's leftovers are going to secure this victory as overtime ticks away.
LNL taking the series 3-1, able to keep things delayed in the very end. Definitely an epic way to begin the series here, where it doesn't quite go to a 5th tie-breaking map, but still ends in a very close fashion.